Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hot Takes. I'm joined this week by Davide, and Ethan is back. It's early in the morning today, so we can kind of get through a lot of the topics to talk about. What you guys drinking first thing in the morning?
Did you
Coffee.
ask that? Did you ask that because you saw that candy app?
What is that?
What's that?
Why is it blurring it
Wait, you
out like
don't
we
have
can't
that?
like we can't show brands?
Oh shit.
You don't have that?
I have no idea what that is.
No
No. Honestly,
way.
no.
Damn.
What is
Well,
it?
you are missing something, guys.
What is
But
it
is it
like?
like a drink,
Vanilla
like a
milky
milk
thing?
base?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's milk based, and it's like you have many flavors. You have vanilla, you have like strawberry, chocolate, and like the main one is chocolate, but the vanilla one is very good too.
Nice. Well,
That's good.
as you guys know, obviously I was celebrating Tottenham's Europa League win since last Wednesday, and I'm not ready to stop, guys. The celebrations continue.
Damn! You're opening a beer at 8:30 a.m. Okay.
tastes like
Damn.
tastes like being champions. I'm
And
not
it's
actually
like big
degenerate.
17 space
It's
too.
it's
Like
0%. Don't worry.
Ah, fair.
okay, okay, okay.
It was for the gag. Um, let's crack on, shall we? And we'll start with probably the most controversial thing that happened, at least in like our Western, well, not even just Western, I guess, like European League of Legends sphere. So for those that watched our last episode that we focused on League, we of course were doing our LEC All-Pro votes. We did them very carefully with a lot of consideration. We took the three of us, we evened out the votes. I think we did a good job. Not quite what
I think we did.
everybody did.
Yeah.
I
You
think.
kinda
we
bullied
did.
me, but that's fine.
Yeah, so we can have a quick look at it. So this is the actual ballot itself. So like every time, obviously they do the LEC All Pro, they release who voted for what, and yeah, there are some absolute clangers in here. I know there's one. Ethan, you said there's one that's was a misclick. I don't know if has that person said that
Yeah.
publicly or
Yeah,
do you
yeah,
know?
he said that publicly. Like he had to like I feel bad for him because he had to answer like many comments about that.
Yeah,
So it's MGG that voted 113 as the first jungler.
yeah.
Obviously, like Chipsaleo is a friend, and I know he didn't mean that at
Mhm.
all. So yeah, he felt kind of bad, and also like what he felt bad too is that like you know people didn't like couldn't see like all the people didn't know that he answered the matter and that he already said that he just misclicked. So like people were not non-stop asking him, non-stop DMing him, non-stop like mentioning him on comments and everything. So yeah, he felt bad, but yeah, that's just a misclick, guys.
I don't feel that bad for him, and I'll tell you why. When I did ours, and maybe it's because I was doing like I was voting on behalf of all of us. I was so worried that I would misclick something. I did it. I went back to every page, checked it again, and when you submit, it emails you the answers. I went through the email and checked every single one. Like, I get you can misclick, but it was very easy. You could even go back and edit later, even if you'd submitted. I
Yeah,
don't feel like
I
there's.
think
I get you can do the
yeah.
misclick. I think you got to be careful.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. But I think like he sent it one time, and like the LEC told him that there was a bug, and then he had to do it again. So he did it on his phone, and it was like a bit messy and
Uh,
everything. But yeah, for sure, it's still like not great, right? But yeah, but there are other ones that are not misclick, right?
yeah, definitely. Fucking hell, I don't even know where to start, to be honest. Hit point, like these first ones, broadcast partners, these are like the other regions or like other languages that broadcast the LEC. Hit point, I think, is the Czech one. They've got some
Yes.
ludicrous
Yeah.
ones. Jungle All Pro first choice Yike, fine. Second choice Isma, third choice Bukada, and I don't even get where there's like bias or something. I get like Chayek first middle pro. I think that's like sorting out their fellow countrymen.
Yeah,
Where the fuck is Isma and Bukada come from?
they are French
Mm.
both. Like Isma is French and Belgian, but
Yeah,
Kada is French.
but then I still don't get why the hit point one would where that comes from? I don't know. Maybe it's some regional stuff I'm not understanding.
Maybe they actually played for this league at some point in their career. I don't know.
Yeah, I wondered that.
Should have to fact check that.
But yeah, so I think the rest of them were like kind of normal. No, they weren't actually. They were completely bullshit still. If you follow the third line down, we go to the end. Bot lane, 1 Kalist. Okay, fair enough. 2 Kazi, 3 Noah. No upset in the top 3. I think there was somewhere. I can't remember. There was somewhere else where there was no upset as well. And
wasn't it like the TH girlfriend?
No, it was the Korean broadcast. I think they had flags.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Korean broadcast had a few weird ones.
Yeah.
So I'll try and get it. So there you go. Third line down, Korean broadcast. Or was it mainly just that? So they had Vladdy Humanoid. Jojo Pion first is its own kind of weirdness. But yeah, Kalist, fucking Noah, no upset. Fnatic, you could maybe have a little dig at them. So they've kind of voted tactically, I think, in upset's favour. So in their top 3, I think it's this grey line here. They had Ice number 1 and then Kalist. Oh no, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong one.
Yeah, it's right.
Oh no, so sorry, I thought they didn't vote Kalist, but they put Ice first, presumably to kind of knock the points down a little bit on Kalist and not put him number 1. Whereas Carmine Corp graciously did put upset number 1, I think. So theirs aren't too bad. But yeah, there are just I get the team ones, like for the team's perspective, it's probably not something they really care about that much, or like some of the players, it's more of a chore really that they have to do it, so they'll just chuck in some random ones because they don't really care that much on what happens. For example, Team Vitality, where are they? Okay, Vitality here, this white line along the middle. They got Genax in the top 3 for top lane. They've got Shio number 1 for jungle. They had Larson third mid lane. Stend number 2 for support. So they're just like
they are memeing for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, from the team's perspective, it's annoying that they do that. There's got to be like some sort of, I don't know about incentive, but like something to try and stop this happening. I think it was Yamato Cannon. I saw him say that one option to stop these like silly votes would be maybe once this vote has happened, take maybe like the top 5 that have basically finished in the top 5, make everybody vote again, but only for those top 5. So you end up that everyone does vote for something like realistic, and these kind of troll votes don't get in the middle. We've obviously not touched on what I think is the worst one yet, and I understand this person has had a lot of shit for it already. Like they've had like, I think KC fans like go mad at them and send death threats and stuff. Obviously, don't do that. That's like ridiculous. But we've got this person, Aurori, who's voted Carlson number 1 top lane, Shio number 1 jungle, Kamalu number 1 mid, 3 Team Heretics players, and this person happens to be the partner of one of the staff on Team Heretics.
But also Stan, by the way, the support one. So it's like 4.
I kind of don't even know where to begin with that. So what I think has happened, I think it's just naivety. So this person probably didn't realize, firstly might not even realize this was going to be public. Secondly, probably didn't realize that maybe how important the All-Pro is to a lot of people, and how much of a big event it is. So for context, Aurori has been doing interviews. It basically started as a journalist in the LEC for like this season, I think. So it's been basically doing it a few months. In previous All-Pros, I'm pretty sure Riot always reaches out to the outlets. So this time, there's like an LEC press Discord where all the interviews and stuff are arranged, and the link has basically been put in there. So pretty much anyone in that Discord could vote. And then I would assume that Riot has still like picked and choose a little bit. Like if some random people that are sitting in that Discord chucked a vote in, I'm not sure they'd include it. So they've basically taken all the people that do actually cover the league and have added their votes in there. So presumably she's kind of seen the link, and it just says, vote for your MVP and All-Pro. Thought, oh yeah, that looks interesting. Done it, and not thought much of it.
Yeah. I think that's for sure just that.
And one thing I've seen people say in her defense as well is that, and this is true, that they don't give you any kind of criteria. So they say to pick. It's kind of given that it's LEC All-Pro and MVP. Like that, for most people, I think that kind of tells you what you're voting for. But they don't say explicitly what kind of criteria you're supposed to be voting on. So technically, you could argue that those are your All-Pro and your MVP once that comes out as well. But what I would say against that is that it just seems, firstly, common sense that you just don't vote for it when you're literally directly linked to one of the teams. Like that just seems so obvious that I can't believe that even had to be explained to somebody. But I would also say that if you are kind of new to the scene, I don't know. I'd almost feel like I would not want to vote. So to give some background on this, right? I started covering Valorant and the Valorant EMEA League since the start of last year. When it got to the end of their season, around like the summer, I think it was around like August or so, I was reached out by Riot to vote in their All-Pro and their MVP. And I basically told them, I've just started covering the league. I don't feel like I could responsibly do justice voting for it. I don't want to vote for someone that doesn't deserve it. And basically I turned it down, saying like, I appreciate that I could be involved in this, but I don't feel like I'm maybe the best person to be doing it yet. I've just started covering the league, and out of basically respect, I turned it down. And there's someone that like followed this league for many years, like the LEC, and I would see these come out, and I would check, and I would always check the votes, and I think, oh, that's really cool. These journalists get to vote on it. Maybe one day I'll get a vote. This was the first time I got my vote, and I was proud that we did it. We did a good job of it, and we did it carefully, and I think our votes were good. And then to see someone in there that's kind of just come in, chuck their mates' names on there, and wash their hands of it, it's kind of like insulting, to be honest. Also, the person hasn't been. They've kind of said like on Twitter, like, "Oh yeah, I get people are annoyed. I won't vote again." But then they're like also like digging people. Like, I know the likes of like Rich and Thorin. I know that they're like controversial. I didn't see them say anything controversial about this situation. They just called it out for what it was. And she was like atting them, saying, "Oh, good job getting your interactions and getting your likes for calling me out on that." I don't think it's something people are doing it because like for no reason. Like, she really messed up in this situation, I think. So it does give me a little bit that she doesn't seem that apologetic. Maybe doesn't still understand quite the gravity of what's happened. Luckily, the people that actually got in the top 3 in each role mostly were fine. Like, I don't think there's been in the actual final result, I don't think there was something that was like completely egregious. So these troll votes hopefully haven't had too much impact. I think Humanoid was maybe the biggest one that didn't make it. Was there anyone that you guys were surprised didn't get in the end?
For my side, no. One thing I wanted to talk about was mainly the fact that, like, for me, troll votes honestly are fine. It's like, if it's not an enormous amount of troll votes, it's also kind of nice to have like some different takes. I feel like most people at this time around had similar votes. I just wanted to know like if there's like a possibility to have and maybe that becomes something Riot requires in the future, to kind of like motivate and like give a reason behind the voting rather than just like placing the name. Because like the one thing you said before about Yamato Cannon, like just make the top, like choose among the top teams. I kind of don't want to have that, just because I feel like there are some times where you might have, like, for example, Ice, who I thought we already mentioned that he was, for me, a close
I might have explained it
top
bad,
3.
But so it wasn't just choose the top 5. It was basically let everybody do their vote, and then when you work out the points, then what players are the top 5 in each one after the first round of votes, then vote again just on those 5. So like Ice could get in the top 5, and then he's available to vote in the final round.
Okay, perfect.
But
okay,
yeah,
then that makes sense.
Because
I thought I didn't want to like avoid like having like only the top 5 teams, because there are sometimes a lot of players that might be good on good teams that
Yeah, there was Naknako, I think, on this vote too.
Yeah. Like, I'm actually surprised that like some people actually had Nanako first.
Sorry.
Yeah,
so
I think
Koi,
some
Carmine
had.
Corp, and oh yeah, so Koi did it twice. Obviously, Carmine Corp can't vote for Canna.
Yeah,
But they stopped at Muin, funnily enough. But I think there was. Oh yes, it was just those two. But he had a fair few second place votes as well.
I think
yeah,
people
which I
valued
think is very very
yeah,
valid.
yeah. Yeah, I think he's been valued also because he didn't have a great team at all, you know, and he shined anyway,
Mhm.
like he shone anyway.
Hmm.
Yeah, but aside from that, I think just honestly, most of the votes were fine. Like, I just feel like you should tell people who vote probably to put just a few lines trying to explain why they chose that, and
Yeah.
I think that would be fine. Or like, over time, like request people to actually like give their thoughts on
Yeah.
it, so that actually makes sense, and it's just like, oh, I handpicked this guy because I like him, or like, oh, this is a team I like. This is a team I like, so I'll put players
Yeah.
of that team, for example.
I think that's the voters' fault. They're just not content brained like us. We got the vote. We sat there and made an hour's piece of content out of it. That's what you got to do. And then there's no anyone wants to go at us. Well, they got to go and watch our thing and give us views, don't they? So it works out perfect. I I was a bit weirded out with the LEC on-air talent ones.
Yeah.
Firstly, because some of the votes are weird. I can't remember off the top of my head which ones. Well, you got one an LEC on-air talent, Linzer second place. I think that's the only vote he got anywhere. There was a Nuke first place for mid.
No, it
Yeah,
was
just
second for that. Oh, you mean
no,
the
there
other one?
is.
Okay,
Or is
so
that the? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So here, there's one. Yeah, there's a few second place as well. So yeah, there's a couple of odd ones, but then I'm kind of don't know why. Like, I mean, the only reason I can imagine when they don't put their names on there is to stop people from going and giving them shit. But then I still think. I mean, your job is literally be an analyst for half of those people, so I don't get why they should have to have their things protected. Yeah, I found that a bit odd why they wouldn't just say who voted what there, when we've got our names on it, or at least we've got the outlets' names on ours. Yeah, poor Aurore's there got her name on it of the worst ones. So the LEC at least could have their names on it, I reckon. Yeah, you guys got any other thoughts on these at all?
Nothing in
Yeah.
particular, I guess. Just like,
Yeah, no, that's right. Well, maybe
yeah,
just
like
before.
just shout.
Go on.
I mean, just shout out to like Chazek, because I feel like he has popped up somewhere.
Mhm.
Like someone even put him in first place, so I was kind of surprised by that.
Well, yeah, that's what I
Among
said. I think
mids.
that was just to check media, but did he get? He got a couple of third place.
Yeah, he
I
got a
could
couple
get
of third
someone like
places.
thinking he's in the top three. I think a lot of people have agreed that the third place was like quite tight, with like Caps in there
Mhm.
for a lot of them, and yeah, Jojo, Humanoid, and all that. So fair enough.
Yeah.
Maybe just before, well, just while we're on the LEC, then still, we could chat quickly about the Niski news that just came out yesterday. So yeah, that's a short-lived experiment, I guess. What were your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I think like it just show again how much Vitality has issues with the management and everything. Like to me, it's getting a bit crazy. And I think I saw Neo, the CEO of Vitality, talking about it, talking about this season in the LEC and everything. And he said that it was Mac and Pad like last chance on summer, like it will be the last chance. I think like it's pretty fair. They had some time to build. I don't think they did that much of a great job, to be honest. Like I don't know, like I don't know why there was so much hype behind the Niski going supports, but it just feels odd to me because like I don't know how you can see him like role swapping from Monday to another and just like perform at the highest stage in Europe. To me, it was just weird to like even believe that. And even though like he had some good games and everything, like overall, I don't think he did a fantastic job at all. I think like he was a reason why this team was like having a hard time. I talked to Carzy at the beginning of the season, and he told me if Niski improves fast, I think maybe we can go like we can even like have a title contention and everything. And he told me that if he didn't, they will be top 4. And actually, like maybe he did even worse than expected because they actually like didn't even make it to playoff, right? So yeah, I think I think Carzy was tilted at the end of the season. To be honest, like it is what I felt. Like and when I discussed with him, he also told me that he was allergic at winning lane at losing lane. Sorry.
Mm.
So yeah, I think he was a bit tilted at the end of the season, and I think it kind of showed in his last performances that he was like really not in it anymore. And so yeah, this change had to happen, but to me it didn't like had to be an issue at the first place because like it just felt weird to promote Niski on the LEC team like that on the Super Tour.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I'm quite excited about Flashy. Like, regardless of the whole situation, how it's going, I think I actually was following Flashy a while ago. Ever since basically the Immortal days in the LCS, I think
Wow.
he's actually has like decent, it's good, quite good. And I think I heard that he has been like not like hard carrying, but like doing a lot of good stuff in the tier 2 league. So I think that with others rookies also performing well, I think it actually makes sense. And I'm glad that like Vitality has stopped from doing like full rosters of veteran teams, and now they're just like handpicking good tier 2 talents and try to make them grow. You gotta wonder like there's going to be a lot of pressure on the team. I just hope that they don't how'd say crumble under the pressure. Because like apparently the coaching staff is under pressure. The players will be under pressure because of course they only have one split to like get back on that, and everything will be compounding, I think.
Yeah,
So
and also I think like for Fleshy, I think he has been like he played with Calis, and he played in the LFL, so I watched a lot of his game last year and this year too because he was playing with Vitality B actually. But yeah, Fleshy I think is like he has a very high ceiling, but I think that this guy is very inconsistent, and I think that Vitality this is like what they don't want right now. But yeah, he can like if he's playing at his peak, I think he can do great things with Vitality. Like actually better than Niski for sure. And yeah, just to close that Vitality part, I think that Linsas has been very disappointing since he joined last year. And so I think like if Vitality wants to do better, it has to go through improving in the jungle aspect.
Yeah, I do really feel for Kazi. Like he's throughout all of Vitality's shit, he's still been like a top ADC in the league, and I feel like he can't catch a break. Like obviously the decisions around I imagine he'll have some say in who he's partnered with, but at the end of the day, like he had like a 3-year contract on Vitality, so even after this season, he's there for another year if things are still not going great. So yeah, and I feel for Mac and Pad. Like I know Pad since he was in like the UK leagues like years and years ago. And I always like seeing them do well, Mad Lions, so it's kind of a shame to see things not going great. But I can get that there's pressure now. Like they've had so many changes as well that without any of them sticking, it kind of looks like because they were the two that were kind of like the development type of staff as well. Like get players in, improve them over time, take these unknown players, make them really good, and then for it to not work, and then change something, it doesn't work. Change something, still doesn't work. It makes it look like at this point it basically looks clutching at straws to change something and hope that it fixes it. But yeah, fingers crossed that it goes well because yeah, I like those guys, so I'd like to see them improve. Maybe let's move on then and talk a bit about the LPL. I'm not going to lie, I don't watch much LPL, so you guys are carrying me through this. All I do know is that last I saw of anyone was Top Esports not being very good at first stand. And then, yeah, that seems to be the theme, right? That they'll just shit the bed international, and then they go back to China, and suddenly they're the best team in the world again. So, explain to me what's going on here.
I mean, like, so basically they just locked in the playoffs teams. We had like the playing stage. So like all the kind of the 8 teams that are left are the ones that have you're probably going to see on the Wikipedia page. Um, I mean, the whole thing is like the LPL Circle of Suck actually was a Circle of Suck, but I feel like it's mainly just because Chinese teams rely so much on mechanics, and mechanics compared to like strategic or like macro is much more volatile in the sense that like all these top teams actually can win one another. It just depends on how clutch they are on the given day, which is why we have seen so many like one team losing to another, and then that team loses to another team, and then that team loses to the first team, and then that's like going back and forth all the time. I think still that, however, like in terms of like top ceiling and like potential, I think top esports with probably JDG and BLG, I think are the 3 teams I'm looking forward to the most for MSI specifically. I just think that these 3 teams, if they can put it all together, are actually the ones that can have like a small advantage edge over the others.
You don't believe in AL?
No, I mean, like for me, AL is like AL has a much higher floor, consistent floor. I just don't think that their ceiling is as high. And I usually think that the LPL teams ended up like usually end up getting closer to their max potential during playoffs because they get to play so many games, and so like their form and whole momentum gets like better. I think the only way that AL could potentially fit in those top 2 is if Abe somehow makes some magic. Because honestly, I think the fact that it's like the whole current meta is very revolved around jungle. Not in the sense that you play carry junglers, but in the sense that there's like a lot of agency goes to the junglers. So
Especially in
like
LPL.
yes, I mean like basically across all eastern regions. But if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
look at the
East,
teams
yeah.
that like the teams that are doing better right now are basically all the teams that have super good junglers. Like you gotta look at top esports. You got Kanavi, you have JDG with Shun, and then Beitran is actually honestly I don't know if you know Lee, but like Wei got benched.
Yeah.
TT got like BLG got Beitran from TT, and while he's probably not a top tier jungler, he does his own job and his role very very well because like he basically stabilizes the gameplay for the rest of the team and then allows BLG to basically play around the lanes and then win through a lane. Which is also why I think BLG might struggle a little bit more because they don't play the meta as much, or like they have Beitran that can play utility very well. I doubt that he can match Kanavi and Shun when it comes to like carrying potential in that
Yes,
sense.
and in BO5 he will have to, change
Yes,
his
exactly.
playstyle.
I mean, like they play BO5s most of the time, but I think, um, yeah, I mean, I'm mostly excited about round 1 matches. Honestly, about BLG IG. I think that IG. I'm not sure. It's like I think they have actually equal potential. Like they can, if they are on form, fight for MSI. But I just feel like they are so inconsistent, even more inconsistent than other teams so far.
Well,
So it will be kind of depend on whether they can actually, like Danny or whatever, like the solo lanes, like the Shy and Rookie can actually make it stick.
yeah, but actually, I think they were very inconsistent. I think they've grown a lot, the splits on that, especially in the like second part of the splits.
Mhm.
I feel like IG, the big issue I had with them is that in drafts they looked horrible. Like they were doing like they were just drafting to win lane, and after that there was no cohesion at all in their drafts. And right now I feel like they've changed a lot on that. They've evolved, and yeah, they are like their team comps are looking much more cohesive. I think that in min game they are much more disciplined too, because it was like a big issue too, is that they were like basically pushing every lane, like not disrespecting everything and trying to 1v2 at any cost on the side lanes. And right now they've changed a lot on that. They're playing much more disciplined and they seem much more serious in how they play the game, I feel like. And especially I think like Rookie is looking very strong. And I think like it can make a huge difference. Yeah, I remember last year like when he was carrying Nip on his own. Like right now we should have a great team, right? Like behind him. So and also JJ has been like very consistent too. And as we said before, jungle is very important in the LPL. So yeah, I think IG can make it, but it will all depend on like as you said a bit like whether they can stay like consistent throughout all playoffs. And yeah, if Rookie can still like put on a performance like worthy of an MVP title or anything.
Yeah. Also, shout out to FPX for me, just
Yeah,
because
for sure.
they have kind of my boy, just because he's Italian Chinese like I am, Shadow, but
Oh yeah,
also kind of like bringing the LEC, the
yeah,
LEC light back to the LPL. He's actually playing really well. Like, I was actually surprised because like I always thought he was quite like he was throughout the past few years like a mid pack player, like among junglers. But he's actually like he has been one of the main reasons why FunPlus has been doing so well. They actually took down NIP in the players match. And I think this meta actually fits him quite well. I
yeah,
doubt he can actually do stuff against Kanavi, but like Kanavi's sometimes known for having his off moments, and in the least expected way possible. First stand was one of those moments, so you'll never know. But I think yeah, for me it's still top and JDG with BLGAL close behind them, and then IG probably. But
yeah,
the one thing I like is that at least there's just like a very competitive pool of teams in the LPL. I just don't know then how that will transition into international stage because
yeah,
I feel like Chinese teams tend to rely mechanics on like too much, and if their form is not well, they completely get shattered because they kind of become rather inconsistent on that.
yeah. But I think like at least like coming into a 2 weeks tournament, it will be easier for them. Like I think they will come much more prepared than they were at first end.
Mm-hmm.
And also I think like unironically, if you're an LPL fan, you don't want top esports to qualify. Like it's just too much right now. So yeah, I think if like there will be for sure another team than Top Esports anyway, so they will have at least a little bit of hope.
Shall
Yeah.
we?
I mean,
Oh, hold on. Yeah. Any other thoughts before we move on to the next one?
uh, nothing much honestly. It's just like probably
Whoops.
wanted to how to say it, like make a shout out for me to Pace, because the
Yeah,
boy,
that's true.
like my shout out to Pace is like I'm actually happy that he managed to like fit into the LPL teams, because like it's been like a trend of failed Korean players, like Korean players going to LPL and then looking not as good as they
They were
showed in
before, yeah.
like other leagues they were before. And despite the super young age and all the pressure that came with him on him being put on a really strong team, he's actually pulling it all together. Like
Yeah,
the
especially
amount of
like sorry, go.
yeah, I mean like the amount of pandas this guy's got is like what?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
what? How is it possible? Like he's got so many pandas like 3 years into his career. It's kind of insane.
yeah, and especially after Split One where he was not looking like he was not looking as good as he's looking right as he's looking now, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, and like have you seen that Kalista play?
Yes,
Where he's
yes,
just dancing
yes,
around the
yes,
Renekton?
yes.
Yeah,
I
that's
did.
crazy.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, yeah.
Probably good for him to have like moved away from Genji as well, so it gets rid of the thing of like being in Ruler's, not like Ruler's, well, Ruler's shadow, I guess, like having to have everything compared back to Ruler before he came. now he's kind of forging his own path. So yeah, good for him.
I'm just still baffled about the fact that he's like a 2005.
Yeah.
Oh, don't.
Like 19 years
No.
old. Oh
Yeah,
my god.
and that's also why like I'm not sure about the choice Genji made. Like right now it's looking good for them, right? But like that's a bit of a reason why I think like I'm not sure Ruler has as much years in his on his like he doesn't have as much years to play as Pace will have. So yeah, maybe like betting on Pace would have been maybe a wiser strategy, but yeah.
Let's have a slight break, and let's give our thoughts on who's winning the Champions League final. I want to have a dig at you, Ethan, for Arsenal not being there. But you said the other day you're PSG as well, which is bollocks, really. You can't have two teams. I'm not having that. It's certainly not two teams that compete against each other in Europe.
I
But
mean,
I guess I
I'm
suppose
Parisian, so-
congratulations. Yeah, if you have to, I'm going to take off Arsenal. I'm not going to let you be an Arsenal fan because I think that's just not on. And Davide, what were you saying the other day about supporting all the Italian teams?
I mean, I'm a Juve player. Like, I'm a Juve fan, so it's like it's honestly probably the worst position to be in, just because of the whole like beef there is between Inter and Juve. But like, as someone who's quite rational in that sense, like a reasonable fan, I think I'm still going for Inter. I just feel like they like honestly the match against Barca was so good. I screamed a couple of times every time they like Inter made something crazy happen. So after I think the failed final 2 years ago, I think this should be the time. I just it's like the whole thing for me is like you will have Inter on one side and then you have the Italian on PSG side, which is the goalkeeper Donnarumma. And it's like he used to be a former AC Milan player. So it's like what if there's like some beef there as well, like
True, yeah.
come back
Yeah, but
like
I
AC
think
Milan
I
don't
think
like him
AC
really
Milan's
now.
fans. Yeah, I think AC Milan's fans just hate him now. So
I mean the whole but I mean the whole thing is like honestly like the Italian like Donnarumma is just so good. Like honestly, I've always
yeah,
thought highly of him. I had actually a friend, a high school friend of mine back in the past that was a super fan of him. Shout out to Mattia. He used to be crazy about the like about Donnarumma, saying he was like the best goalkeeper in the world back in the day. And I feel like he's actually like I'm not sure he's probably the best, but he's actually proving why he's there. And I think that PSG fans haven't done him like haven't treated him well enough to deserve because he
Just-
basically carried them until the final, literally.
Is it like he just
to
from
close
what
up
I've
because
seen, he like turns
Yeah.
up in the Champions
Yeah.
League basically, and then in the league maybe isn't as good. But yeah, you're a lot more
No,
rational than us from England, Davide. Because I tell you, when you're an English fan and it's any English team except for yours, you do not want them to win in any of these matches. When PSG's run, I wanted them to beat Liverpool, I wanted them to beat Villa, and obviously I wanted them to beat Arsenal. So I'm glad they could knock them all out. I don't care about the coefficient. I know I should want the English team to do well because that gets us an extra spot, and that means my team is more likely to get in. But we'll just get in by winning the Europa League anyway. Fuck the league. We'll finish 17th. It don't matter.
but Davide mentioned like the Inter against Barcelona match, and I
That was
just
crazy.
like imagine you're looking at this match, and after that you're looking at the Europa League final. Like how much of a gap there is between those two competitions is pretty crazy to me.
It's the crazy thing is the gap in European titles that Tottenham have compared to Arsenal, and I'm gonna guess it compared to PSG. Without even checking it, let's have a look and see if I'm right. Let's see
Like,
where are the honours.
I think PSG had one
One.
title, one European.
Tottenham have got
yeah.
more European titles than both of those clubs combined, mate. That's enough. I'm moving on. Right, let's get back to the actual real topic, shall we? So maybe we'll do the LCK next. And yeah, we'll start with Gen G then. You guys give your thoughts on Gen G's run while I do production stuff and get the Leaguepedia page open.
I mean, there isn't much to talk about. Like the whole thing for me was just a highlight. Like the whole thing of just Genji stomping everyone. It's actually the way that they like even beat How Life, I think, was quite convincing, even though they dropped the series. I think that it's like Genji is honestly looking a little bit like last year. So it's like they have dominated the whole like spring split so far, or like the first part of season now, because there's no spring split anymore in the LCK. And you honestly, unless something crazy changes, I really doubt like you can look. I'm already about to say like I can probably consider them as potential contenders for the MSI title right off the bat, because I feel like the whole team looks so well put together, and even like Duro, who I really had like a few doubts on, has been improving a lot, and
Yeah.
is actually like with Ruler doing a super good job. Canyon has actually been um he's actually recovered from the terrible SK Cup performance he had. And I just think that like Keen and Chovy and Roll are just like that reliable, stable carry trio that you can literally say, I can give you anything, like I can let you play anything, and I'm probably like 99% sure you'll give me what I need from coaching staff perspective. Or it's
Yeah.
like you can expect them to deliver a solid performance regardless of the matchup or like of the things. And I think with Fearless Draft being applied, this is a very big advantage.
Yeah. And I don't know, did you mention Kin?
Yes, I did.
Okay. But yeah, to me, Kin is also like I think like people don't talk about him as much as the others because maybe like he's not as shiny, even though he has actually like shiny moments. But yeah, I feel like this team is just like so consistent right now, and when they're like that, they just feel like unbeatable, right? And yeah, also Duro has stepped up a lot, like really a lot. I think like he's already in the debate to be like the best support in the league, like for sure. And I think like a bit like Pace, like if first split was not the best. So yeah, it's great to see him evolving that much, especially since he's surrounded by like very good players and he's coming in like a bit like the little thumb of the team. So yeah, seeing him evolve that much is great, I think.
What's happened with Hanwha Life? Because after first stand, like they looked obviously sick, and then it looked like well, I thought they were going to sweep the season pretty much. So is it like just Genji have come back, or have Hanwha Life dropped off a little bit? Do you think?
I think a little bit of both. I think that like there are two reasons behind this. Just judging from like a gameplay thing, I think that like the first part of the season put a lot of attention on the top lane, which allowed Zeus to shine, especially in the freeless drafts. Because he could get a lot of edges um in Champion Select. I think that with the change to the like Void Grubs and then the whole Atakan thingy, like the new season 2 iteration, it has kind of like impacted Hanwha Life's strengths. And I also think some of the players haven't been as consistent as they were. Namely Zeka and then probably Peanut. I feel like I don't want to give bad takes on Peanut because I still think he's one of the best junglers. But if you compare him to like Owner and Canyon in the current state, I still think he's a slightly below
Yeah,
them.
for
Because
sure.
I just think that he kind of falls into like into what I call the Beitran kind of narrative. It's like you have such good 3 solo lanes, so you don't have to actually do that much, or like you're not in a position where you have to step up consistently to make the things work. And so when they face like top teams like Genji, when you're required to do it, Peanut cannot pull it off. And honestly, it's hard. Like you're going against Canyon. It's like, are you actually going to gap him? Not really,
Especially
but like
Peanuts. Especially
yeah,
Peanut, like
but
he had some bad history with him.
yeah, exactly. Like bad trauma, but like I feel like his playstyle over the past years has changed a lot, and when you're so used to playing one type of playstyle and you're forced to do it, like to force it to change it yourself during the series or like throughout a season, it's really hard. So for me, it's like Humble Life is currently struggling, which is why honestly, like T1 for me can actually make it.
Yeah, they are looking
Like,
better for sure.
like based on what I've seen so far, and like I was so surprised by last week's Torrance performance. Like I think he won POM. I think probably the first time in whatever how long. But like he had a super good series on against I think was Nongshim. No, BNX,
VFX, yeah. Yeah.
BNK. It's like it was like very good. Like
Yeah.
like equalizers, like 4-man equalizers, like super great ultimates.
1v2 with Yorick too.
Yeah. And so it's like I think it's like I think with Guma getting back, T1 looking much more solid, and actually I think they benefited from the meta because like Owner really shines here, like can shine here. I think the second choice for MSI might not be as clear as it was when we first started the split.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. To be honest, I think Guma is looking better too. Maybe he had time to adapt, and I think like that like drama with Smash, Guma, and everything, the fans, the CEO. I think like it may have um, got bad for the sorry, I was confused about the ads on the screen of Leaguepedia, but yeah, it might have looked bad for the team. I think Keria was talking about it, like how practice was hard because they didn't know who they were practicing with. Sometimes they were practicing with Smash, sometimes with Guma. And yeah, I think like now that they had time to prepare, to practice a lot together, and like I think it was important, even though that all of that 6-man roster thing, I think it was important to have like one um, like locked player at the ADC positions, just so that they can move forward and practice and just be in a good environment where they know what they are doing and they know where they are going. So yeah, I think it was important, and also as you said, Honor is shining a lot. I think like even to me, like Honor has been the most consistent player of T1 from 2025, and even in 2024 when they were not looking this good in LCK, I feel like Honor always like stood out. So yeah, to me, T1 can really make something. I think if the one keeps on the good performances, and we will have a glimpse of that in a few hours because they will play against Anwar Life at noon today. So yeah.
What's your prediction on that, you guys, if you have any?
I think still 2-1 Anwar Life because I think like this is Doran's dad. So yeah.
I think so too. I mean, like the
Probably a
whole
draw,
thing for
I
me is
think.
like
A draw, I'm saying.
a draw,
Yeah,
just like that.
Just let them draw. No, I don't. Yeah, go on.
Okay.
I mean, for me, it's like I think if we're going to have this discussion, it will come down to like playoffs time. Not right now. I still
Yeah.
think Hanwha Life is a
Agreed.
little bit better. I kind of wanted to ask you guys what your thoughts on like multi-man rosters, as in like because you like we just mentioned about like the whole Smash, and I don't really want to like put focus on that itself, but it's like, do you think League should have more than the starting lineup thing? Do you think it's good or like or negative, or it's like not
I th-
beneficial?
I feel like in a perfect world, there should be a way that you could do it and it be positive. The fact of like having players that could play different styles, maybe. But then I feel like it's so hard to do in the right way because especially where League, it's not like a traditional sport where you've got like if it's football, let's just say as an easy example, where you've got so many players that swapping one person out doesn't like it can give you something different without throwing everything out the or not out the window, but without messing up like synergies and things. Like obviously in League, everything's so much about communication and the synergy with the 5 players. It just feels like change one player has such a big impact on so many aspects that I feel like the only way you can do it, which is not how T1 was doing it before, which was part of the issue I think, is that the only way it's going to work is like you basically have the main 5 and then an extra one that you can use now and again in like certain scenarios or maybe against certain opponents that like maybe this person's champ pool is going to be better in these certain scenarios. But I feel like you basically have to have the 5 main ones plus another one that maybe you use now and again. But I can't see a world where like it works to change like constantly and have like one role that's completely shared. Personally,
Like
I
I
mean,
was
like,
wondering,
yeah.
do you know how is it going for CFO right now?
Yeah, CFO
David?
is like destroying the LCP again.
Oh, okay.
It's
Okay.
like
And
7-0.
is it like the top lane? Is it
Yeah, I
like
still
still
think
like
they're
moving?
like changing. Yeah. I
Okay,
think
okay.
so. I mean, like the one counter example I was actually wanted to bring up was the CFO one, because I think like it's like Rest and Driver have 2 completely different playstyles. Like their champion build is actually quite different. One is more stable, one is more aggressive, and I think that can work with a team like CFO to bring out some of the new stuff or like new edges. I think going back to the question for me, I think it's not that unrealistic. It's just that you need a lot of time, and T1 is one of the few teams that do not have the time. It's like literally the only, like probably the team with the least amount of time possible, because
Yeah.
just like top teams across other regions, you're required to win or you're expected to win, and unless you put it out clearly that you want to take this year, like this half a year, how you say, as a learning experience of how to fit a
But
6-man like
they will
a
never do that.
6-man. I mean, the thing is like you can't really, because the fans' expectations and the club's expectations is for you to win again, because
Yeah, yeah.
obviously you already won 2 world championships. So I think that's not really it. I think that, however, it's like it's possible to do it on other rosters. The only thing is like you would require the players to stick together for a long period of time,
Mm.
and for a long period, it don't mean 1 year. I would at least go 2 years or above, and I think based on the current iterations of League, it's really hard for like to have 5 plus 1 or 2 players to fully commit on a project for 2 years,
But
because
I've
as like, I'm sorry, it's like
yeah, go.
if you have people constantly swapping in and out, the value of the player will still be relevant. But if someone is clearly a starter and the other one is like a backup, then it's not that great.
you
It's
wouldn't want.
like,
Yeah, you'd never agree to be the backup, would you?
yeah, exactly. Which is what kind of happened between Shun and Wei last year. It's like Shun was the starter, then got replaced by Wei. Wei did good in like in summer playoffs, but then he started struggling once again at Worlds, and then Shun was being brought back. It's like, and then obviously like Shun wanted like left BLG, but it's like Wei wasn't like Wei's value dropped down a lot, and then dropped down even more this year as soon as he
Yeah.
got benched
Because also
by
I've seen the
Beijing.
argument as well, like, and maybe this is something where with CFO, maybe just because they're the best team in the league, they can kind of get away with it. But the argument I've seen is like if you have a different player that does have a different champ pool and that they play a different style, when you sub them in for a match, you like imagine you were the other team's coach going into draft, you know exactly what they want for that player now because that's the the reason they put them in is because they play these certain types of champs. You already know what that team is going for, so it kind of counters your own team to an extent, I imagine, in draft.
Yeah,
I
but I
mean,
think I think that's anyway like coaches pretty much like know what is going to be the priority picks during a BO5. Like even coming into a game like 4, I think even like if there is no spicy picks or anything like or very like deep champion pool champions, I think that's anytime a coach will face a player, he will know what he will play pretty much.
I mean, the thing is like what I can kind of understand where you're coming from, Lee. My thing is like you usually have a variety of champion choices. It's not like limited to
Yeah.
just one or two. So you could argue that it's like, oh, you're getting kind of you're countering yourself because you're restricting your champion pool. But it's like I think it will happen most of the time where like substitute happens is when you actually still have enough options, and then you're willing to trade that to have better like performance from the lane or like from the team overall to make sure that they can actually like make work it out, I guess. It's like I'm looking at the rest driver and rest like page, just looking at the champion pools they have, and it's like they only have one champion in common, which is Rumble. And then all the rest are quite different. So
And to be fair, maybe it's like maybe it's actually more helpful in Fearless specifically as well, because like maybe by the time you get to a 5th game in a best of 5, there might only be certain like viable champions in a certain role anyway, and you may as well just put the better player on it because everyone knows they're going to be playing one
exactly,
of these
yes,
handful of champs.
exactly.
I feel like,
I think
it's
the
what
fearless draft
happened.
actually helps.
Yeah, it's what happened at first end when I think it was Driver that was like an OTP gangplank at some point in his career, so they just pulled out the gangplank with him.
Do you guys remember the first LEC split when XL were trying to run a 10-man roster? When they first got in, it would have been what, like 2019 or
Was
Actually,
it?
don't.
so. The first split that XL got in, I'm just trying to open.
Was it with Cadril? Was
I
it
think
actually with Cadril?
before.
Because I think 19 Cadril was still playing.
I think
It was actually
before
was the
then.
year he got into the LEC. Oh no, he.
Yeah,
No,
no, he didn't got in, but he was playing jungle actually.
Let me show you. So where are we going? LEC Spring 2019. Oh yeah, he was playing. You're right. Yeah, but you see,
Yeah.
well, they got one top laner, one jungler that played, 2 mid laners, one ADC, 2 supports. And what they were doing is because they just got in like out of nowhere. Because remember, I think like a different team was supposed to take the last franchising spot and then dropped out. I think it was Splice, maybe I want to say. Well, I'm not sure.
I think
No,
Splice was in, no?
I know because then
Splice was in.
no. I don't know. There was one team that dropped out at the last minute, and yeah, basically XL got in like at the last second. They'd just been like a UK semi-pro team basically, so they suddenly had to put a team in the LEC, and
was it H2K?
Yeah, that was.
I think it was like North or something. There was H2K. I don't think were ever gonna get in, but there was one team that was it, like Riot accepted it, and then the team dropped out. I think like right before the announcement. Anyway, so they had this...
maybe UL, Unicorns of Love. I don't know. Like yeah.
But basically, what they tried to do was like they had their players, so they got 10 players because they had an academy to play in like the UK league, and what they said, like what they were doing was they had everyone living in London, and they would scrim throughout the week. And then when it got to like Friday morning that they had to fly out for the LEC, they would take the 5 best players from scrims that week and then fly them out, play the matches, and then fly back. It didn't work. I think that was.
The whole thing.
That was like a very hopeful, extreme version of multi-man rosters. To be fair,
I think the whole thing. It's like I can definitely see a world where you can have like 10-man rosters, and you just instead of like doing scrims with people outside of your like with other organizations, you just do like in-house scrims all the time, and you can test out so many things because players obviously are willing to play whatever the coaching stuff is.
That's sort of like what LS was going to do with Cloud9, I think, wasn't it?
For the sake of trying. I think that's actually quite legit. The whole point there is then actually finding 10 players who are close in level, like close in performance.
Yeah, especially with the salary cap, I think it's not possible.
And then actually have a team that is willing to spend the salary for 10 players.
Yeah.
No, it's not possible.
It-
Especially with the
it's
salary
like-
cap, I think it's not.
Yeah, I mean, no, because like if I remember correctly, the salary cap is only applied to the 5 starting players, but the whole thing is like we're not currently in a state because, like, for example, in football, you can have that. You can literally have 11 players playing
Yeah.
against like the second how do you call them
Academy
second
or
tier,
like
like
reserves or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, the reserve.
That's what I was gonna talk about. Like, I think the whole point is you can have an academy, and I think it can be good as well. You know, like I think KC are training a lot with the academy with KCB, and yeah, I think it's, you know, having an academy. I think there's not much better thing. And Vitality is a good example. You know, maybe they didn't make it to playoff, but like Naknako and Shayek had a good showing, I think, so far in the LEC. And yeah, they are both coming from the academy.
I mean,
And
the whole
Fleshy
thing for
will
me,
will be
yeah,
too.
the whole thing for me is like, um, it requires a lot of time. So, and it's like, for example, it's not an experiment. How can I say it? It's like it's currently an experiment that can work out in certain scenarios, but it's like it's really hard to implement it and actually show the results over multiple iterations and the current moment. Because like the top teams are expected to win, the younger the like the mid pack whatever bottom tier teams will usually have just like players that can give you a decent level, and then you'll probably pair them up with a few rookies, hoping that they'll have an exploit, and then you can, I don't know, transfer them to someone else, make money on it. Or it's like have them become your face. The whole thing is, it's still too short of a time to then implement a multi-man roster.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's maybe move on to what I think will probably be the final thing we talk about today. We're going to do a little bit of Valorant. I know you guys I don't think follow it much, but there's a story that's come out that's kind of like, I mean, you don't really have to follow Valorant to see
Multiple stories.
Well, there's been a few. But what I wanted to talk about today a little bit was the match fixing scandal. Also because this, it's not something. I imagine it's not something that's unique to Valorant either. There's certainly been a few things in League over the years as well. But just to kind of recap roughly what's happened is that Sean Gares, who's like a big figure in Valorant, he came from Counter-Strike as well. He was like a player and a streamer and everything. A couple of weeks ago, he I think like dropped into somebody's stream who was talking about match fixing, and kind of he randomly got in this guy's stream and was like, mate, shut the hell up. I'm doing an investigation. You're going to ruin it. And then he came out tweeting saying that the scene is rotten. He can't believe what he's found. Wait for me to reveal this stuff, guys. It's crazy. And he's finally dropped this video. So he's dropped a 1-hour video kind of going through his investigation. And there's a couple of like quite damning things in there about how it happens. So what he's basically uncovered through there's 2 players in the Valorant NA Tier 2. So in the Valorant Challengers League in NA. So like equivalent of obviously like Tier 2 in League, same kind of thing. And there's this guy Bray, who seems to be just like a random guy on Twitter basically, that has been messaging players, and he'll basically message players and say like, oh hey, you want to make 20 grand together? You want to make a load of money together? And then he'll basically just he'll tell them like, throw this one game or this one map. So sometimes it's not like he's making them lose a whole game. He'll make them lose one map in a best of 3 and cut them in on the bets. So obviously he bets on the map 2 loss. That team loses map 2 and he makes loads of money on the bet, and then he cuts in the player. So what seems to happen is he'll reach out to like, maybe just like a single player, because I mean a single player could be all that's needed. If they just whiff a couple of shots, lose a couple of rounds, and suddenly their econ is all fucked and the team loses the map. So the damning part is like, it's almost certain, unless these players that have kind of leaked it, unless they've faked all these screenshots of this guy, which seems implausible, it's almost guaranteed this guy is reaching out and offering players money to throw games. And basically he shows them screenshots of betting slips showing where he's won loads of money on these previous matches in the Tier 2 league. There is like disputes about if those screenshots are definitely real or not. He seems to have like maybe copied screenshots from other Twitter accounts showing bets and then just scrubbed out the names so that it looks like it was his. So we don't know even how true it is that he's been doing it and definitely making money on it, but he is definitely offering players. So that was kind of like the first bombshell. Like people are being reached out to throw matches 100%. What was interesting in the video as well, though, is he spends kind of 20 minutes going through this guy Bray and talking about this, like a couple of the other connections that this guy has as well that look like these other figures may be involved. But then he goes through some VOD reviews. So this guy Bray mentions 2 teams specifically, like, and heavily implies that he's worked with them before to fix matches. And Sean Gares then does a VOD review of one of these matches that it looks like in a screenshot the guy won money on, and he finds the players, or like 2 players in particular, are doing very strange things. So they'll be like throwing utility around a corner, which would make it very obvious if you're the other team and you're around that corner, you know there's a player there. So after I've thrown the utility, if I go round, I've got to be careful if I go around the corner, but the player will then, throw the utility out and then go around the corner with their knife out. So if there actually was any other players, they're 100% just going to die in 2 seconds. Or they would just like push through utility with their knives out. Basically just doing like really questionable stuff that that if they're not match fixing, then they look like they're not playing very well at the very least. But then in contrast to that, he shows one of these players who's called Bob. So this is a player from Game Changers who plays for FlyQuest Red and Game Changers, but also plays for another team called Blue Otter in the NA Challengers. So basically they play for 2 teams at the same time. Between this match that they threw, or maybe threw, there was 3 days until, or 3 or 4 days until the next match. In between that, this player was playing for FlyQuest Red, so was doing other matches, and then came back to Blue Otter. Same with the other person. There's kind of 2 people that he thinks were fixing these matches. And they had 1 game that they threw. They had a few days in between where they played for other teams, so presumably didn't really practice with their original team. And then they came back for the next match. And this match was against Sean Gare's team. So he's a general manager for Shopify Rebellion and like a few of their academy teams and stuff. Suddenly now, Blue Otter, with these 2 match fixers, they come out and now they're the best team in the league, and they're doing things that are like unrealistic in the opposite end, where, for example, Shopify Rebellion's players would move from one side of the map to the other side in a way where where Blue Otter could not have known. Like, they didn't see any utility, they didn't see any evidence of them moving, but suddenly Blue Otter's players all shift over to this side of the map. And things like that. Players walking through areas without checking angles that they should have usually checked, as though they knew there was nobody there. The implication being that somehow these players not only have thrown matches, but they're also now cheating in other matches and somehow have access to see where their enemies are through some kind of means I wouldn't even really know. So it's this whole thing, and Sean Gares has had some criticism off of it as well, because people saying, well, these players, they're just playing badly, and now they've got these accusations of match fixing. All they did was have a couple of off games, and actually what's happened off of it is that Bob, who was the FlyQuest Red player that was also playing for Blue Otter, has even been benched by FlyQuest Red as well. So there's not been any kind of any evidence, like there's no smoking gun against Bob. There's no screenshots of them accepting money. There's no actual evidence that she has cheated or that she has fixed matches. But FlyQuest Red have benched her pending their own investigation. Blue Otter, her other team, have backed her and the other player who's called Fair. Riot has said that they're doing their own investigation, and that they're kind of, without saying it overtly, they're sort of like asking people not to release these kind of videos, basically saying that once this stuff is public, then the people that are doing these illicit activities, they can try and start covering their tracks. They can, try and hide, get rid of the evidence and stuff. Obviously, once they know the stuff's coming out publicly, then they'll be more careful, which kind of happened as well. So this guy Bray, who is the one that was trying or that was definitely reaching out to players, as soon as Sean Gares made his first tweets saying that he was investigating this stuff, this guy Bray started messaging players to move, because they were talking on Discord. He started telling them to delete their chats and move over to Telegram, so it was a bit more secure. So it's definitely happening that the people are like trying to clean up the paper trail a little bit. He has still been reaching out to players after Sean Gares first posted about it, though, so it's not exactly stopping it from happening. But yeah, I'll stop ranting because I've been going. I'm just shouting at you guys now, but it's crazy. And actually, to be fair, I don't think it's something that's probably just in Valorant. I mean, like, was it last year or the year before that like half of the Vietnamese league got banned for match fixing? Because that's the thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying is like, as long as the people are careful, it is extremely hard to catch them and to be able to ban them. Like to be able to ban somebody, you've got to know full well that they did it. So it'd be interesting because Riot has precedent of banning, what was it, like 30 plus players overnight, more or less, when it happened in Vietnam. So clearly they've got experience, if you know what I mean. So hopefully they can get to the bottom of it.
Tier 2 in China got the same kind of problem, right, Davide?
Yeah, in the second league, in the LDL.
Yeah.
Even before Vietnam.
Yeah.
And,
Like with Bo and everything, I remember. But also I feel like the whole Valorant scene is falling apart or what? Like every time I see something about Valorant's pro scene is like, I feel like it's just a bad thing every
it's been
time.
like the most crazy like 2 months of just pure
Yeah.
like drama after drama.
I
to the
think
point
there's
where, like,
Fluorescent too, right?
Yeah, well, the last 2 dramas are just like not even like funny drama. It's like, yeah, literally the Game Changer star accused of sexual assault, and then half of the semi-pro players being accused of fixing matches. And it's like, and I did some research on it as well. Like, if in the US, match fixing is a federal crime, so it's not even like a state to state thing. Like federally, it's a crime that you could go to prison for up to 5 years, and that's if you're the fixer or the player that's doing it as well. So if these guys are caught, and there was some FBI investigation, I don't know if it's a big enough thing for them to bother, but like you can literally go to prison for this 4 or 5 years. So I don't know if it's worth it. So because I remember hearing rumblings all like every couple of years, you'll hear that there like might be something in like the ERLs as well. I remember there was it like the Polish league that had like a really dodgy match a couple of years ago, or a year or two ago, like the end of a match where a team was about to win and then they just like threw it. Yeah,
I think there was like it was last year. There was like 2 Chinese guys who basically like threw a game despite having a big lead, and apparently like people were calling them out for match fixing or like trying to lose the game that they were clearly winning. And then I mean, the whole thing for me, it's like you're bound to have to look into these things over time, especially now. Like now, Valorant has been out for like 5 years, if I correct.
This is literally the 5th anniversary, like right now.
Yeah. So it's like like League has had these problems for over 10 years, because like the match fixing was still a thing until last year in Vietnam, which is actually was considered tier 1 competition at the time.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to track down people, but I think that there are like 2 problems that come with it. I think one is players want to make money by playing their game, and they do not make it enough by playing tier 2, unfortunately, because on the current landscape it doesn't allow you to make a living or a big enough living. So people will chase fortune by doing this stuff, unfortunately. And I think there must be like on Riot side more possibly more strict checking or like background checking as well. And on the other hand, we had honestly there must be a way to figure it out on how to make tier 2 a little bit more sustainable.
Yeah.
There are a couple of ways you can do that. Maybe we can talk about it in another episode because I
Yeah.
feel like we're running out of time. But I think also because like I also read about the what was it M80
Yeah,
that
imploded.
that got out because they were kind of lucky because they were gunning for Ascension and then they failed for 2 straight years. And I know what that means. Like it's like spending a lot of money knowing that if you don't make it, then you're basically wasting all your investment.
Yep.
So I can kind of see why they decided to like get out of the scene in the current state because doing it for the 3rd year would be kind of crazy.
And
but
it
yeah.
might happen too in the NA right now because I think GLTA, like in League of Legends, I mean, GLTA will be doing a similar kind of stuff with a guest team and everything from
Yeah.
this year. So yeah.
I mean, the whole thing for me, it's like it's unavoidable in that sense. It's like
I think so too. Yeah.
I'm not surprised that there is stuff. I'm more surprised about the fact that it's like honestly, if it wasn't for Garrus like calling it out, people would probably just keep it in the darkness, you know. So I think he did a good job by trying to like push at least get the attention. I'm not sure whether like the players are actually match fixing. We don't have that until like until they're proven guilty in that sense.
He does
But
show it.
it's
So
definitely positive. Yeah.
in the video, he does show as well, of the 2 players he focuses on, which are Fair and Bob. They shows an email that Fair already had gotten from Riot, where they basically said like there was suspicious activity in these rounds. Can you please explain what happened in these rounds? So like they're it's not something that would be a surprise to Riot, I think. So it's good that they're on it as well. One thing I there's been like so much discussion about is how like is the sustainability in tier 2, where they say like the point is it's these players that are trying to go pro and they're on the verge of it, so they're good enough that they might get there one day, which means they have to keep grinding, they have to spend their whole lives playing the game, but they can't afford to do that because it doesn't pay in tier 2. The issue I think I have with that, and basically the idea being that if tier 2 was paying good salaries, then they wouldn't need to match fix. I think the problem you'd have there is that it just would always move down a level. It's just going to be whatever is the level below a livable salary. Then you have people in tier 3 that are gunning for tier 2 because they want to get to tier 2 and make a living playing the game. So they're going to be grinding in tier 3, not be able to afford it, and start fixing matches. So I think realistically,
I mean,
like,
the thing is like but like the counter argument would be like then there would be like a need with bookmakers to not include those
that's
matches.
the thing, exactly. And the thing is like these bookmakers that are in these screenshots are like some like crypto unregulated sites. They don't really care. The best Riot can do, I think, is like not allow like the actual, I guess, the reputable bookmakers that they could have an influence with, maybe whatever kind of APIs and things they use to get the results, not allow them for tier 2. That's I imagine the best they can do. But yeah, like, as you say, like these dodgy websites are still going to do it anyway. There's not really much you can do about that. Like I see some ones about these kind of websites where they'll literally do they'll do bets on like amateur football matches where there's literally not even a crowd and they're just playing in a field somewhere, and they just have one staff member go to the match and just like write down what happened in the match and what the score is, and then that gets fed back to somebody to put it on the website and let people bet on it. So like they don't really care what level it goes to, I think, these kind of more unregulated ones, and there isn't much you can do about it. Yeah, the best you can do is try and, that's right, obviously try and catch it and punish it, and yeah, I think not allow betting on tier 2 stuff as much as you can.
In France, betting on esports is like you can't bet on esports in France.
No. What esports?
Like it's not legal. Yeah, any esports. But I think because of all the reason you mentioned, like I think the lack of like
checks and balances
framework
basically.
on yeah, and like even the fact that the scene is like not as I don't know how to say it, but structured as the professional sport and traditional sports So I think that's also a big reason, because if you bet on the second division, you can match fix and everything. So yeah.
I didn't know about this. It's like I know you can I know you can like bet on esports, but like it's like big matches here. I know there might be some bookmakers, I'm not going to make names, but it's like that have like tier 2 stuff, but it's like usually they're not accessible through EU specifically because of legal reasons, I think. So I think that at least is a good thing. But yeah, it's like the whole betting thing is like, honestly, it's like in traditional sports is not going away. So for me, it's like you either embrace it and find a way to regulate it somehow and be strict on that, or it's like we're going to have to deal with this in the next few years regardless.
Yeah.
Unless you completely because the whole thing about like these things is also like these guys are young. Like they probably don't know what the consequence. It's like they'll probably know the consequence, but it's like, oh, I'll make the bag first and then deal with it later. You know.
And I mean, some of
Yeah,
them
and
will be
they are
They won't
influenceable.
bother. They won't
They are
bother. And it's like,
influenceable.
and once you start making money, then it becomes a little bit like of an addiction.
Yeah.
And you'll never stop.
And some of the
That
offers in
dog is
that
super
video was like, a guy was getting offered 40k to lose one map, but then if he could win the match 2-1, an extra 10k. So this guy's getting offered potentially 50,000 on one match. He might be on like maybe like $1,000 a month if he's lucky, playing in like semi-pro. And yeah, the players in that age, in that kind of level, could be like literally teenagers, like 16, 17, 18. I'm not going to sit here and say for sure if I was in that situation, I know I wouldn't take it. You know, when you're young, you make bad decisions sometimes. So I don't know. It's difficult. But yeah, that was my at least on the money side of it. I suppose that's
you guys actually remember when you were young? Like, because I feel like you're so old, so yeah, I don't know.
Yes, I do remember.
This
I do remember back in those days.
days.
You'll get there. Everyone gets to being older eventually, mate. You're not going to escape it. Just enjoy it.
Right
How old
now,
are
yeah,
you, Ethan, by the way? I forgot.
23. I'm going 24 this year.
Oh gosh, you're young.
What about you, Davide?
I just turned 25 this month.
Oh bloody yeah!
That's fine. We
But
just have 1 year difference.
I mean, it's a lot, honestly. I feel it like the moment I turned 25 earlier this month, I was like, oh my god, I'm 25.
Yeah, 25 is the gap.
It's like you have like that realization moment, and you're like, what?
Yeah, quarter of a century, man.
Yeah, well,
but it just feels like yesterday that I was like 18 or like I was going to uni. You know, it's like it's crazy.
But he's 2 quarters, so you're fine, bro. Don't worry.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I've got the big one, the big 3-0 next year, so I've got to get ready for that.
Damn.
But I've
that's
kind of
crazy.
I mean, I'm bloody full of grey hairs. I'm sure you can see. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I have
I've
white
got nothing
hair
to
as
lose.
well, actually.
I started getting them when I was like 18. But at that age, I was pulling
Bro,
out each one that I could
14.
find, but I can't do that now.
I had them like at 14. I don't know. I probably was stressed or something, or playing too much League. It's like I started growing like white hair quite quickly, and then it got worse in uni. It somehow got better after I finished studies. So probably that was the reason. Too much stress, but yeah.
Well, I don't mind greys as long as the hairline is fine. My hairline is solid. That's a bigger problem, I think. So I'm all right. I think we should wrap it up here because you see my son is annoyed that he's not getting attention. So any final words? Any hot takes? You guys, no one's actually given a hot take today, really, or we've not explicitly said.
Yeah,
it
that's
anyway.
true.
Ooh.
I guess mine is that the tier 2 Valorant thing would not be fixed by having good salaries. I just think it would just go a step below.
Let me think.
And then the Inter Milan is going to win the Champions League.
That's
just for you, Ethan.
That's a good take. That's a good take. I'll take it.
Yeah, mine is that Ousmane Dembélé will be the Ballon d'Or this year.
I'm gonna put it out there. I'm gonna just put it out there. For me, there's like a 60% chance KC doesn't make it to MSI.
Damn, 60 is a lot.
Yes.
Okay.
'Cause I'm not sure, but you know, it's like I have this kind of feeling. I still think that it's really good, but for me, it's like the top LCS teams, LEC teams come to like down to form on the day. Because I, for example, thought actually Fnatic was supposed to fight much closer with G2, but then they
Yeah.
somehow got completely destroyed. So honestly, I'm just you wanted a hot take? That's my hot take.
Okay.
It's a good one.
I'll
Okay.
not give reasons, but it's just a
But-
gut feeling.
but
Just
just-
a gut feeling.
Okay, but I think like KC against MCOY was looking much more like a bad day than Fnatic against G2, because Fnatic against G2 is just like really it was like the same as every time they faced the past 2 years. Like they just throw they just have a big lead early and they just throw it, and I think that's really like I'm really worried about them because they're just not evolving on that particular matter.
Yeah, I think like my hot take will be like KC having multiple bad days, unexpectedly.
Okay,
So
okay,
that's
okay.
why they won't make it.
Okay.
Let's see then. Well, yeah, let's leave it there then, guys. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, guys.
for the input. This
Thank
guy's really
you.
enjoying watching Sean Gares on the other screen. He's just sat there loving it, mate. Yeah, let's go. Goodbye from me. Goodbye from him as well. And see you guys next week.